In the heart of the Arabian Peninsula, where the vast deserts meet the sky, a creature of unparalleled beauty and grace emerges. Join us as we unveil the captivating world and history of a horse admired by people around the world. This is the Arabian, the jewel of Arabia. In the geographic area where the most prominent feature of the Arabian Peninsula is the desert, the word Arab means inhabitant of the desert. It is here in this desert region where the Arabian horse traces its origins back thousands of years. The Arabian horse is thought to be one of the oldest human-developed horse breeds in the world. Horses with features similar to the modern Arabian appeared in rock paintings and inscriptions in the Arabian Peninsula dating back 3,500 years. In ancient history throughout the ancient Near East, horses with refined heads and high-carried tails were depicted in artwork, particularly that of ancient Egypt in the 16th century BC. It has been speculated that these types of horses may have been domesticated by the Bedouin people, nomadic animal herders who lived on the Arabian Peninsula sometime after they learned to use the camel, approximately 4,000 to 5,000 years ago. Regardless of origin, climate and culture ultimately created the Arabian. The desert environment required a horse with the physical traits capable of balancing life in a dry climate, with wide temperature extremes from day to night, and with the ability to thrive on very little food. In certain areas, humans were the only providers of food and water. Where there was no pasture or water, the Bedouin fed their horses dates and camels' milk. Compared to camels, Arabian horses needed far more water to survive. The Bedouin greatly prized these Arabian horses and considered them to be gifts from their god Allah, and highly revered and cherished them. Because of their love for their horses, the Bedouins did their best to care for the noble creatures and even treated them better than their own children. The horses ate before the people, and if the water was scarce, the horses would get the last drop. The Arabians meant so much to their people that the headsman of the tribes could recite the history of his equine's family ancestry just as well as he could recite his own. These horses also held great religious significance. Depending on the horse's shape and color, there were beliefs that each part held a great meaning. The people believed that the bulge or jibba in between the horse's eyes held blessings from Allah, and it was thought that the greater the jibba, the greater the blessings. A well-attached neck or the mitba was a sign of courage, and a high-set tail was a sign of pride. It is because of the religious significance, wealth, and security that these horses provided to their tribes that traditions of breeding as well as purity were put in place to ensure that the horses were kept asil or pure as Allah had intended. Mares were the jewels of their breeders and were valued for riding and breeding. Pedigree lines were not traced through the stallions, but instead were traced through their mares. Mare families, also called strains, were the way the Bedouins traced the ancestry as well as the authenticity, and were often named after the sheikh or tribe that bred them. There are 5 main strain families called the Al-Khamsa. These 5 are the Hadban, Saglawi, Kehilan, Abayan, and Hamdani strains. Other strains such as the Jilfan, Shuwayman, Manegi, and Daman were considered of lower quality. Each main strain had substrains that were named after a prized mare or sheikh. These substrains held wonderful stories of courage, endurance, and speed. The great mares Kehilet Jelabiyat, Kehiyat al-Krush, and the Saglawi of Ibn Jedran brought with them wonderful stories, and daughters of these mares were highly sought after by kings of power. The daughters and granddaughters of these mares were often passed along through stealing, bribery, and other means, and if these mares were sold, they carried prices of great amounts. Each of the 5 main strains, when purebred, gained recognizable characteristics unique to each strain. The Hamdani, often coming in colors of bay and grey, were athletic, with a masculine, large-boned appearance. These horses were one of the largest strains, standing at around 15.2 hands. However, they were often considered plain-looking. Their heads were straighter than other strains, and they did not have that sought-after jibber. The Keelan, with their common colours of grey and chestnut, and their short but broad heads, stood on average at 15 hands. These horses were recognised by their deep chests, size and masculine ability. The Saglawi were bay and stood at a height averaging 14.2 hands. With their refined builds and almost feminine appearance, were known more for their speed than endurance. They had fine bones, with long faces and necks. The Hadban, known for their common coat colours of brown and bay and few markings, are a smaller version of the Hamdani. Standing on average at 14.3 hands, the Hadban had gentle personalities and were built muscularly with large bones. The commonly grey Abayan were close in appearance to that of the Saglawi, with their refined builds. Smaller in size and longer in the back, the Abayan also had more white markings than the other strains. Since the Bedouins did not believe in gelding stallions, they kept very few, as stallions made very poor war horses because they were harder to control. The Bedouins highly forebode any mixture of foreign blood into their pure horses and held great disdain for other desert-bred horses in North Africa. Arabian horses were mostly instruments of war and aided their riders in raids and battles. A good steed helped the Bedouins as they attacked opposing tribes, taking their sheep, goats, and camels. In this case, mares once again gained more favor with their riders over stallions because these raids required a surprise attack with swift and precise execution. The mares were better because they would not neigh or nicker to the opposing tribe's horses and alert them of their presence. The greatest mares showed immense bravery in battle and stood their ground when the enemy attacked. It is said that they would stand over their fallen masters and stay there until forcibly led away. They also had speed and endurance, which was essential, as the raids on enemy tribes generally happened far from home. Races were also a matter of great importance. The prize for the winner was the loser's herd. While breeding horses could be bought and sold, the prized war mares held no price. These mares were considered the most honourable gifts when changing owners, and it is said that there was no greater gift than that of an Arabian mare. While the Bedouins continued to keep their horses from the outside world, the warmongering Turks rode into Europe, bringing with them a few precious Arabians and their own impressive Barb and Turk horses. Europeans began to seek out the Arabian horses due to the stories of their agility, courage, and endurance. For Europeans, owning an Arabian would not only improve the breeding of their own horses, but would give them a new sense of prestige. Those of great wealth and royalty amongst the Europeans went through great pains to own such wonderful creatures. When the 16th century came along and firearms were invented, the use of heavier horses for battle became less necessary. The demand for horses such as the Arabian was high, as these horses proved to be outstanding mounts in battle. As travel across the globe became more prominent, Turkish rulers of the Ottoman Empire would send gifts of Arabian horses to the European heads of state. Such horses included the highly famed Bayerli Turk in 1689, the Dali Arabian in 1703, and the Goldefin Arabian, all of who were imported into England, and became the foundation sires for a new breed of horse called the thoroughbred. As of today, 93% of thoroughbred horses can be traced back to these 3 stallions. As the Arabian horse spread into other countries, it also contributed to the making of many other popular breeds, such as the Percheron in France and the Orlov Trotter in Russia. Soon, the Arabian horse crossed the oceans to leave a hoofprint in the United States. On a visit to Abdul Hamid II, the Imperial Majesty the Sultan of Turkey, in 1877, U.S. General Ulysses S. Grant was presented with 2 handsome stallions named Leopard and Lindentree from the Sultan's stable. The former stallion was soon given to Randolph Huntington, who in 1888 imported 2 mares and 2 stallions from England. This came to be considered the first purebred breeding program for Arabians in the United States. In 1893, the Chicago World's Fair invited every country to participate in its festivities, where Turkey proudly exhibited 45 Arabian horses in the Wild Eastern Exhibition. The mare Nejma and the stallion Obeiran were among the imported and became the foundation horses, number 1 and 2, for the Arabian Stud Book of America, which is now known as the Arabian Horse Association. A few years later, 2 Arabian mares and 1 stallion were registered. Many horses today at breeding farms can trace their lineage back to these 19th century Arabians. Along with the Arabians' rich history, these magnificent horses were deeply steeped in myths and legends. One legend about the Islamic prophet Muhammad tells the story of how he chose his foundation mares. It says that after a long, tiresome journey, Muhammad turned loose his herd of horses so they could race to a watering hole to quench their thirst. Before the herd could reach the water, Muhammad called his horses back to him. The only ones to return were 5 loyal mares, who ignored their raging thirst to return to their master. These 5 mares became Muhammad's favorites, and the prized mares became known as the Al-Kasma, which interpreted means the 5. Although these mares were considered a legend and therefore fictional, it is still believed by some breeders that these mares were the foundation for the 5 main strains of the Arabian horses. There is also a Bedouin legend that tells the story of how Allah created the Arabian horse. It states that he looked to the south wind and cried, "I create thee, O Arabian. To thy forelock I bind victory in battle. On thy back I set a rich spoil and a treasure in thy loins. I establish thee as one of the glories of the earth. I give thee flight without wings." Another version says that he created the Arabian horse through condensing the south wind. "I want to make a creature out of you, condense," he said. "I call you horse. I make you Arabian, and I give you the chestnut color of the ant. I have hung happiness from the forelock, which hangs between your eyes. You shall be the lord of the other animals. Men shall follow you wherever you go. You shall be as good for flight as for pursuit. You shall fly without wings. Riches shall be on your back, and fortune shall come through your meditation." Another creation myth states that in the time of Abraham and his son Ishmael, the angel Jibril came down from heaven, and with a whirlwind awoke Ismail from sound sleep. At the command of the angel, the whirlwind stopped hailing forth rain and dust, and took on the form of a handsome, prancing horse, an animal that seemed to swallow up the earth. This is how the Bedouin people came to call the first Arabian horse the drinker of the wind. An extremely impressive legend tells the tale of the Bedouin tribe, Chief Ahmed, and his precious Arabian mare. This mare was loved by all, and many would have loved to have this beautiful creature. But the chief could in no way part with his beloved mare. He then bred the mare to best stallion from the Sultan himself. Later on, one day when Ahmed was traveling across the desert sands astride his beloved mare, he came upon an enemy tribe. A chase ensued, forcing the pregnant mare to race to safety. Despite her condition, this brave mare knew the risks and would fight to protect her master. Galloping for all she was worth, she slowly gained ground, but could not save her master from being shot. Feeling her master fall forward on her neck and shoulder, the mare continued on, and dutifully carried him back to the safety of her tribe. When she reached the tribe, the blood from her master left a stain on her shoulder, a stain that would not and could not come out. But the people of the tribe, due to the mare's courage, were able to honor their chief. That very night, the chief's mare gave birth to her foal, a colt, with a mark like his mother, running from his neck to shoulder. Lastly, an origin tale tells the story of how the Queen of Sheba gifted an Arabian-type mare of pure stock to King Solomon. The mare's name was Safanad, which means the pure. Another tale tells how King Solomon gave a stallion to the Banu Azd people. This was because the people had come to pay tribute to the king. The stallion was called Zad el-Raheb or Zad el-Rakib. It is said that this stallion was faster than both zebras and gazelles. Every hunt on this legendary stallion was a success, and when he became a stud, he was known as a legendary founding sire. A well-built Arabian is a sight to behold and striking in appearance. Arabians are most easily distinguished by their dished faces, long arched necks, long backs, and high-set tails. Their chiseled appearance is both graceful and strong, proud and intelligent. Common coat colors are gray, bay, and chestnut. Less common colors are black and the Rabicano, and they range in size from 14 to 15 hands. As hot-blooded horses, they are spirited and highly intelligent. Despite being spirited, Arabians are affectionate, loyal, and extremely willing. As the original racehorse, the Arabian is very versatile and excels in endurance races, dressage, Western disciplines, and even jumping. The appeal of the Arabian horse has never lost its gleam. It remains one of the most popular horse breeds today, and has found itself in many acclaimed novels, such as the Black Stallion books by Walter Farley and The King of the Wind by Marguerite Henry. They also play a significant role in the film industry, starring in many films like The Black Stallion, Hidalgo, and more. But most importantly, the Arabian is held dear to the hearts of countless horse lovers across the globe. With breed registries and associations, the breed will undoubtedly remain loved and cherished for generations to come. Thank you for watching this Explore Horses production. Please be sure to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel to learn more about the fantastic world of horses. Until then, farewell.